Joint ventures and financing structures. Someone in the crowd asked for that, so let's talk about it. I guess Mark wants us to wrap up and be out of here by 4, so we're going to try to stick to that. Basically, joint ventures are negotiable, depends on the type of property we're buying or trying to put under contract. The ones I've done in the past, I usually 60% or 50% to my promote group and 50% to the person that brings the dollars. And whoever's in the promote group, myself and 2 or 3 other individuals split that up evenly. The guy that brings the dollars gets 50% of the ownership. Sometimes it's reverse. It's 40% to the guy who brings the money and we get 60%. There's other opportunities where some hard money lenders don't really want any ownership. They just want a return. They say, I just want effective yield of 15% on my money. If they put 100 grand, I want 15 grand back a year. I don't care what you do with it. Just give me a secured position on the property you're buying or number of properties you're buying or using this money for. And sometimes we've sold the properties for a big payday, and they didn't participate in that. They just got the return back and got their capital back. I guess what my answer is there's all different kinds of ways to structure it. It just depends on what kind of property you're acquiring, how fast you have to act upon it. I talked about that earlier. In the commercial world, things don't last long. If it's a good deal, it's gone. Give you a couple examples of that. You just, if you snooze, you lose. So that's really got to understand what value is, be able to evaluate things on your feet quickly or within a certain amount of short period of time, 2 or 3 or 4 days.
Snore, you lose more.
Yeah, if you snore, you lose more, Kathleen said. Yeah, that's a good one. And then it goes to the right people to put the whole team together to get the thing under contract, the right kind of contract, get an earnest money held with the title company. Never give a seller any money ever. I don't care what they say, what they require to say, get lost, I'm not selling it to you. Always put it with the title company, with contingencies, and with release instructions. Again, I'll talk to that about during my mentoring program, how to do that. You never put your money, your earnest money at risk. I don't care how good a deal is, you'd rather just pass a deal up and get the money taken from you or tied up so you can't get it loose. It's not worth it. You put 60 days, typically it's 60 days of due diligence. When I put something under contract, I want 60 days to be able to evaluate it once it's under contract and signed by the owner or the owner representative, it's a trustee or their attorney or whoever, a power of attorney. I try to get the environmental done, title work done, a survey done if it's not already done. Again, I try to negotiate to have the seller pay for all those 3 things. If not, we pay for some of it, or I try to get terms from the consultants that I've been using for years to give us terms until we close. You don't owe them any money. It's like accruing. They're good with that because they know that you keep giving them more business. Sometimes we don't even do any due diligence. We know it's such a steal. Immediately try to market to somebody else. Once you have control on paper, again, that's the control because that's all a court looks at. It's what's in document paper, what's signed by both parties. They don't care. He said this, she said that. Doesn't mean anything. Don't even think about it. Yeah, I got a deal with a guy. It's not in writing. It doesn't mean anything. It's just too easy for them to go change. Oh, I didn't remember that. I changed my mind. Or sorry, Pat. I sold to the next guy. Came along and he paid me he agreed to pay me 120. I said, but my deal was 100 grand cash. Well, he sold me 120 grand. He's going to pay me over 12 months, and I was okay with that. But it's already done. It's done because he got something in writing. So again, sometimes things we get in writing, we don't even take title to them. I'll immediately go after an investor I know that has an appetite to buy that kind of property. We'll sign a contract to him and get paid and walk away. Let him take it. Or I sign a contract to him for a fee, but also stay in as his partner because he doesn't know how to deal with it. Say it's a distressed, this retail building I'm talking about in distress. As soon as I get under contract with the people of this estate, the heirs for their attorney, I don't think I want to take the whole thing on myself. I'm going to bring a partner in, have him go tie up the property by putting $100,000 earnest money down, non-refundable but applicable, and then go through the due diligence for 60 days, and then acquire the property and give him like a 10% or 15% return, so I don't have to put any money in it. Then when I purchase it, refinance it, and then pay him back. So again, just there's all different ways to put it. I guess you just got to start thinking about it, reading about it, and just doing it. That's how you learn to structure transactions. And again, during the mentoring program, I'm going to talk about all the different forms, and I'll give it to them on disc and hard copies of exactly what actual examples of purchase agreements I've used, all kinds of different ways to tie up property options, claim of interest, the non-disclosure, non-circumvention I mentioned a little bit about today. NCND, it's kind of a nationwide form that everybody uses. Some are 8 pages, some are 3 pages. Mine's basically 2. There's how elaborate you want to get. Usually if you get too elaborate, people won't sign it. So you got to kind of balance between too elaborate and too simple, and put in the things you really want to matter, and then just go ahead and get it signed and move forward. There's other things too that we can get involved in, I talked about today, but in different avenues. There's always constantly someone that came up to me during the break and said, well, Pat, if I sign up for a mentoring program and I'm working on a deal with you, and then what happens when it expires? I go, well, you got to renew it. Well, what are you going to teach the next time? Well, I'm going to teach more things in the same realm of commercial industrial. I never stopped learning, and I never stopped sharing that knowledge. This stuff I got involved in the last 60 days I've been dealing with Bob about through a buddy of his. It's not real estate related, but so far I haven't come to the conclusion yet, but so far I haven't found anything wrong with it. But basically you bring an investor in with their money, and they have no risk, no downside, all they have is upside. It's not real estate related. So there's other avenues, again, through networking with people. You get involved in things as a group, and that's stuff I can talk about too, as an investor that I teach you to be, and hopefully encourage you all to become real estate agents. If you're not an agent, go to class and get your license. You can't partner with me, but you can partner with other people in the room that are brokers that you can put a license with them. It just takes you to a different level. It gives you a lot more background because you're forced to go to school by the state of Michigan, and you got to go through a lot of books on appraisal, how title works, how land is divided. It's a lot of good background information. Whether you use the license at all, I recommend you go through the training. It's like $350 or something like that to get the schooling. You buy the books. It's a great education, or even a refresher course if you've known it in the past, but it's good to bring it up to speed now in 2006. And then you have Con Ed every year. Again, you keep your license live. You go to the Con Ed, and the Con Ed's good. Even 6 hours a year, it's good information. I'll tell you the seminars to go to. They're not residential seminars, they're commercial. They're geared to a commercial real estate attorney puts it on the seminar, and that's all he talks about is commercial. Why go to a seminar when they're talking about housing, all the latest wrinkle on lead paint or all that baloney that I don't think you guys want to stick to? I really want to push you in the commercial. There's a guy that just does commercial continuing ed. It's held every year in Standard Federal, but now it's LaSalle's Bank's world headquarters, and it's put on by Lorman, or not Lorman, CBOR, the Commercial Real Estate Board. You don't have to be a board member to belong, to go there. You pay the same fees you pay for residential continuing ed, but it's all geared to commercial. So you meet the commercial brokers that go, commercial developers that go or licensed, they go to the seminars. The room's about 200 people. Just to network with the people in the room is incredible.
What's the site again?
It's held every year. It's in the fall. I'm going to go this year. It's at LaSalle's headquarters, which is Standard Federal's headquarters, right on Big Beaver there. But again, I'll post this information. Again, I like my website. I'll start posting this stuff. I have Chris, my IT guy, start posting this information on my website. And it's a commercial-geared continuing aid class. It's mind-boggling. It's in Michigan, right in Troy. And no matter where you are in the country investing, say somebody here gets transferred for some reason by their employer, I always encourage you to join a commercial group or start up another commercial group of people you can invest with and learn the commercial world in that state. It's no different. Same kind of stuff goes on. everywhere around the country, just a lot more accelerated in other parts of the country. There's a lot of clients here in Michigan that I have that are deep-pocket investors, and they're saying, Pat, what do you know about Las Vegas? What do you know about Arizona? Not much, but I can learn about it. Janik in the back of the room told me about a site the other days. We've been going back and forth on the email. He found a big development site near Bull City, Arizona, Bullhead. And I got a developer here in Southfield I know that was very interested in the site. Again, I told him the city, where it's at, and trying to get his interest level peaked. It's a huge development opportunity. It's like 226 acres of dirt. It's all through the internet. You bring the investor in, you get him under contract, a non-disclosure agreement, and you give him a buyer's broker agreement that he's going to engage with us to find this site, and we get paid. Then show him the pieces. He goes ahead and closes on it. We get paid. All we have is bring the deal to him. So that's the kind of stuff, again, I want to encourage you guys to get involved in the internet if you're already not. Just start learning how that system works. It's mind-boggling. How you can cross straight lines and get involved in investments in Michigan, other states. It's just networking with people, the people you run with, the people that are doing deals here in Michigan. They do deals in other parts of the country. They see money's there, they'll do it. And all you are is a clearinghouse or a conduit. There might be a bank here, LaSalle Bank, I deal with on occasion. Mark mentioned earlier there's a guy named, that I went to school with in high school many years ago. He's kind of a fast-track guy. He went into banking. I went into real estate, as I told you. He went into banking. He's like a fast-rising star. He was really outside the box thinking, creative banking background, got a CPA designation. He went working at the Standard Federal Bank. He kind of just thought all day. They paid him to think. They put him in a room and taught him to think. And he orchestrated the merger between Michigan National and Standard Federal. So they promoted him to president of Standard Federal for that. And then he orchestrated that Standard Federal was not efficient enough, so he changed a bunch of things around. Not only made him one of the chairmen of LaSalle Bank in Chicago, moved him and his family there. So he flies on a corporate jet, and he's the kind of guy that you could talk to him. He's on the street level, but I feel kind of timid to go to see him because I don't want to go to see him because he has the open door to all the different REO properties that LaSalle has around the country. Because they're a worldwide bank, the 17th largest bank in the world, the parent of LaSalle. It's owned by ABN AMRO. It's a Deutsche Bank. He says, Pat, if you get a big enough group that has the firepower that's been working on the last 4 or 5 months of trying to do that, to come to show me proof of funds, I'll get you in charge of people in the major asset division. And we mentioned earlier about Ron LeGrand. That's what really he's gravitated to. And he'll open the doors to those kind of people. All you are is you're like a clearinghouse. You're a bird dog finding properties for people that don't have the time. All they have is money. But they don't have the time to go look. They're playing golf, they're sitting on their yacht, they're on a cruise, over maybe in Greece. Who knows what they're doing. But they have the firepower to buy this stuff. They just don't have the access to it. So again, through the internet, we can get access to all once I get proof of funds and go meet with this chairman of the bank that I know, and down LaSalle Boulevard in Chicago, he'll open the doors, and where's that going to take you? All it takes is networking. That's why I encourage you to just keep learning the commercial world, networking, talking to people, and you never know who's in your life, who you know from the past or the future, a friend of a friend that's tied into some kind of a banking connection or an asset lender. There's Stout Reeses and Ross is a big workout private entity. They're based here in Southfield. They're one of the biggest in the country. And all the bankruptcy attorneys hire them. They're paid by the court very well. Say a company goes into bankruptcy, Delphi. Stout Reeses and Ross gets the job to manage that whole company. They're paid a consulting fee, and they turn around that company if they can. And they have other little companies that they deal with, they want to sell. And they have total control to sell them for $1, the same situation. Again, they're consultants, but it takes time to network to them. There's all kinds of consultants, all kinds of level that deal with bankruptcies, workout for banks, because a lot of banks now don't handle workout in-house. They're too high and mighty, they don't have any staff anymore. They don't hire bankers and put them on the payroll. They outsource it. So again, it's another source of finding property Again, that's what its whole focus is today is finding distressed property. You want to buy stuff retail, anyone can go buy something on LoopNet. That's not the kind of stuff you want to find. You want to find the distressed stuff with its value. You tie it up, get all the information, you bring it together, we work on it, trying to find an exit for it. You get paid to exit it or you stay in it. There's all many different ways you can work it out. If it's small enough, we can find enough capital here to buy it, or we find another group that'll take us right out of it. And that's how you get paid. And you have someone like Bob structures the tax ramification. So you have a problem with the IRS, you pay little or no tax. There's so many different ways to do that. It's incredible. That's a whole world in itself. How to structure the income stream. And then with the 1031, you can transfer out of a property and defer the tax forever, borrow money back out. There's so many different avenues to go. I'm saying there's so many different things in the commercial world that it just takes time to learn it. It's one step at a time and networking with people. And that's why I want to encourage you to just keep talking to people about commercial. Some people say, get out of here, we're commercial. I don't know anything about that. But you never know when you bring it up with somebody, a broker, a consultant, you find a landlord that you know. I got a building. You know what? I'm sick of it. I've owned it for 10 years. The tenants are beating me up. The roof's bad. It's the same kind of situation, just like housing. It's a whole a lot more, profit potential. Just kind of come to them. Obviously, you have no one else solve their problem. You can see what I've talked about today is not many people that actually go out, do the work that it entails, and then actually buy the property. Most of that stuff just goes out to the radar screen or just dwindle down the asset, either goes to nothing, or the bank takes it back and they don't know what to do with it. They end up giving it away. Like this building in Romulus. Again, I think they're probably going to get down to somewhere in that 200,000 range for a 60,000 foot warehouse in Romulus. Taxes on that building are, I think, $14,000 a year. And the bank's been fighting to get it reduced. They were like $45,000 a year, just to give you the tax income from the city of Romulus on this building. And now they're going to buy the building for $200,000. That's mind-boggling. You can't even touch to build it for that. Well, go ahead.
I don't know, hopefully this is not topic too much, but so each of your assets you own within some kind of corporate structure, C Corp, S Corp, LLC, something to that effect.
Yes.
Acting as president of your corporation or LLC, how do you pay yourself to minimize any kind of taxes for yourself?
That's a whole seminar in itself, but basically you pay yourself as a consultant, or you pay another LLC, and you just filter all the income down. Everything you can't expense, you expense. Whatever's left over, you give it to your kids. That's again in the tax code. You can gift money to your kids, you put them on the payroll, they pay no Social Security tax. Again, it's just how far you want to go. I said Bob would do all that kind of structuring. That's a whole, you need someone just to handle that for you, because you could never do it all. You'd just do full time. You need someone to be able to do that knows how to play the game and how to do it. And like Mark explained earlier, that when the IRS comes knocking, whether they have reason or not, you got to have someone in your corner that knows the game, knows to stand toe-to-toe with them, not, hide in the corner and make a puddle. You got to understand the law enough, or the tax code enough, to have enough nerve and confidence to stand up to the IRS and say, what do you mean? They're pushing, hey, I want this. You put a finger in their eye and say, get out of here. There's nothing wrong here. What are you doing here? They're intimidators. They just want you to, make you pay more than what's owed to the government. That's all. The whole job is up to, selective enforcement and intimidation. So I said that's why I keep stressing to have the best people on your team as you can. You constantly learn from them, and then you learn from other investors how they do things. It's a continual progress.
Do you advise on specific people that you use?
I will in the mentoring class. I can't get into it today, but there's people I use, yes, that I've had known for years, and they've made me money, they've made money, and again, they have clients that they make money for, and they'll say, hey, Pat, this guy's doing this. What about adopting this? Because again, like I said, the tax code will never really change. It's always have corrections, and those corrections is where you make your money. Once an artist makes a ruling, this is legal now, wow, everybody's doing it. But if you didn't know about it, because you didn't have the right people representing you, you're still doing something from 2004 when it should be in 2006.
You're out of the loop.
Yeah, you're out of loop, you're losing money, you're paying money you shouldn't be paying, or you're not doing the best for the people in your group, the money they're investing, get the most return on their money. Any other questions? Okay.
Question to that.
Okay.
The legal instruments that you use to document like a purchase agreement, are you registering those with the court system?
Am I registering the purchase agreement with the court system?
Correct.
No, there's no registration. PAs are not copyrighted purchase agreements. Honestly, I get the best from, what I do is the national home builders I represent in Michigan, not on an exclusive basis, but to go find them, places they're a mercenary, go find them land, don't tell them who they are, and go find them a site, bring it to them, they do all the orchestration once the numbers hit what they want. They have all the great attorneys, the Philadelphia attorneys, the New York attorneys. I use their purchase agreements. I mean, I have my own template, but I always can prove it by what they use. See, it's a new wrinkle, a new twist. Wow, this is great. That's how you learn things. You're constantly improving your documents. Your leases is the best lease I've ever seen is the one Taubman wrote for good reason. You know, his shopping centers all over the country, he's all over the world now. His lease is probably 110 pages, and he just says, here, tenant, sign it. You want to take a page out? Sorry, you can't lease my building. So I just use some of the language in there in the residential, in the commercial, commercial and retail leases that I've used. And it's incredible the stuff he puts in there. He said he's the king of the percentage rent from the landlord, from the tenant. All the different clauses, it's incredible. He puts it all in there, and it's in there until you start putting that into your life.
Is that the guy you're talking about on your CD up in Auburn Hills? That property that he owns up there in Auburn Hills?
Yes,
Great Lakes?
yes.
Oh, okay.
You build a new.
Yeah, he's building a new lifestyle center out in Macomb, just like that. It's like a lifestyle center's got a big, I don't know, 400,000 or 500,000 foot store, and yeah, basically, that's what he does. So you might as well learn from the best. And all his documents are there, they're out floating around the public domain. He has leases, he has, just his marketing techniques too, how he gets that whole tenant rep. As I said, all the brokers that work, he has no brokers that work for him. He has a brokerage group on his payroll. That's it. He doesn't list anything with anybody. They all come to him because they want to be in his center. They fight over being in his center. He'll announce a new center. I got to be here. So I'm just saying that's the kind of stuff that you just keep growing from it. You learn from it. You try to implement it in your perspective, even though it might be a huge lot smaller scale, but still it's proven it works. He's got to keep pushing. That's what I like about commercial. There's never an end to it. There's always going to be demand. People say, oh, Michigan's in trouble. Baloney. Let everybody else leave Michigan. I'll stay. There's always been opportunity here. There's always going to be opportunity here. Yeah. Prices just keep going down. You just start to be more opportunity to acquire things. And there's people that, I won't mention his name, Mark knows who he is, but there's a guy that runs the streets of Detroit in the late 80s. He bought so much stuff downtown in the CBD, it's incredible. For pennies on the dollars. When people said, I got to get out of Michigan, it's all going to close down. He just bought in the path of progress and sitting on them. Little dumpy buildings right on Washington, little streets like Lafayette, right down the CBD. Laces them out. Now he's starting, they're all coming through, and he's selling them out for big dollars. Again, there's always a cycle. You always buy value. That's what I've taught you. Buy well below replacement cost. You can't get hurt. And people come running with you with the money. I got to have it too. How can I pay a part, So you can't beat replacement cost. And as I said, I talked about construction cost and what it costs in today's world. If you buy anything, 50% or below that, it's just like, it's not a matter of how many people try to buy it, it's how fast you can sell it. It's incredible. But it's just control. It's control of the property. Stuff like that every day changing hands. Banks are taking it back for whatever the reasons are. Developer, again, in a lot of situations, developers lose property back to the bank. They got a gambling problem, they got a drug problem. They're people too. They have all kinds of issues. They might have made $10 million, the next year they go, I'm going to start this project. Then they get involved in drugs, they lose everything. Goes back to the bank, it's non-recourse, the bank takes it back. Bank doesn't know what to do with it. They're just dumping it. Bank says, cut it, get out of it, you know. So that stuff goes somewhere. Sometimes it doesn't go anywhere, just sit on the books and the bank gets written up and you get to the point they just give it away for $1. There's a lot of instances in that case, you know. I shared in the past, last July when I did a 6-hour seminar. There was 3 properties, 2 in Birmingham, 1 in Royal Oak, and it was a little bank in Royal Oak. My dad was a customer of the bank. The president of the bank called him in and said, Bill, I got these 3 properties. I want you to agree to take them right now. He goes, I won't charge you no money down. I'll finance them 100%, a 4% interest rate for 10 years fixed. Just come in tomorrow and sign all the paperwork. And Dad goes, okay. He goes, oh, by the way, they're all leased. He goes, we just want them off our books. It was a foreclosure. They didn't want them to stay on their books because the auditors were coming in the next week, the bank auditors. And the bank is driven on their stock performance. And if they had bad loans or stuff that's in workout, it berates their stock rating. Please sign it, please, please. So I came in, he signed the documents, he got 3 buildings. He still owns them to this day. He's, you know, just the rents keep going up. You know, I think twice already he's refinanced them. Because it tends to pay the rent down, the debt down, and pay them back, you know, refinance them again. Suck equity out free. So I'm saying that happens all the time. There's just, you got to have the rapport with the banks and the different people in different parts of the commercial world. They're out there. They've got to give it to somebody. They don't want it on their books. So let's just teach you guys how to do that, how to be persistent at it. It's not, once you have the knowledge and you're persistent, the money is not an issue. The money comes to you. You just got to find the product and tie it up and just keep using your knowledge to get better and better what you do. That's all it takes. Okay, let's open up to any more questions or?
Did we go over
Okay.
renovation and budgeting for no surprises?
I think we did. We talked about renovation and budget for no surprise. We talked about my contract where I don't give any money up front to the contractor. So you know everything up front. You get 3 bids in every category. I never take 1 bid and just say, okay, I'll do it. You spell out front when they have to have it done. Again, in the mentoring class, I'll get into my contracts, but when they get it done, there's no markup on materials. All you're bidding for is labor, really. That's all you wanted to bid for. That's all they can give you. You can buy the materials yourself, so can they. Why should we get a markup on it? Okay, question, Mark?
I have a question for you. So I find a warehouse in Detroit. It's a blowout warehouse, just like I found originally. And it's in a tough area, and the market there's a little tough. I bring that to you. How are you going to get that rented fast?
My way to lease it fast is the brokers I know that work Detroit. There's only 3 good ones. The rest never answer the phone because they're always on vacation or something. They're on the street every day. I talk to all 3 of them, tell them what I have, tell them what kind of rate that I want to get, $2 or $3 a square foot. I'm going to pay them a big bonus. The usual rate, customary rate, there's no set rate, but the customary rate in Detroit for a commission on leasing space in Detroit is 10% in the commercial industrial world. So I'll pay you 20% in the first 60 days to bring me a tenant. After that, it goes down to 15%, you know, and down and down. Again, incentivize what they're going to get. And again, if I get it leased, if it's not fully leased by what the tenant they bring, I'll let them lease the balance of the space and give them bonuses too. If I have to, I haven't done it yet, we talked about it, is make the broker a partner. So he's not just an owner, not just a commission base, but he's also an owner in the property too. So if the income is $10,000 a month, he might get $1,000 a month forever on rent. Never had to go that far, but again, you just incentivize the broker basically to work for you like You're first on his list, not 10th. Because believe me, they have tenants that want space. They just can't find space in Detroit a lot of times. They have a sudden need, they got a contract. Mark was talking about the one in Bellevue. There's a neighbor right next door. His business is booming in the industrial world in Detroit. He just does plating of little parts for the auto industry. He brings the parts in, he sprays them with paint, puts them in a box. They come in raw. He got oil on them. He does some kind of treatment to them. I haven't seen him at his plant yet. He sees outgrowing his space. He degreases it. I guess that's what he does. He spray paints a part, puts it in another box, ships it out, and he says he makes a fortune doing that. These parts come in from China and Hong Kong and Taiwan. I don't know where they're coming from because that's where steel is cheap now, labor. But you still need the finishing here because we still have the painting systems here. They don't have the painting operations over there. I don't understand that, but I guess they don't yet. So he fills that need, and he has so much business. He goes, I want to take some space over here. Can we blow a hole in the wall here and sign a long-term lease? I said, sure. He goes, I'll do all the improvements. So I get the architect go meet with him beginning of the week, draw the plan at his expense, the tenant's expense, to blow the wall in, and we'll do the estimate to do the build-out. Either I'll do the build-out through a contractor I know to say, here, otherwise you do it yourself. And just, get a referral fee from the contractor to do the work for the guy. But the key is the income stream. He needs space. He doesn't know where to find space. So you accommodate him. You start him at $2 a foot. Maybe he takes 100,000 feet. That's huge money. The building is pretty much debt-free. It's not debt-free, but it's pretty low in debt right now. But if you start bringing in $200,000 a year in rent, that's incredible. So you could keep the building. We can refinance the building now. I don't care if commercial interest rates are typically 7.5%. If we could pull $500,000 or $600,000 of borrowed money out of the building and still cover the debt from the income, and plus have all that money to play with. It's mind-boggling. Okay, question in the back?
What do you encourage as far as learning materials? Because other than this buy, lease, build magazine, do you encourage any other products out there in the market?
Products on the market.
And the reason I ask that, I subscribe to the National Real Estate Investor. I'm curious if that would be on your preferred list.
I don't, it's not really geared to commercial. Honestly, I would go to that commercial website, that one handout that Janet handed out earlier, the triple net 1031. Start seeing what properties they're selling for, what kind of properties there are out in the market. I guess I don't really have a list right now off the top of my head, but that's something I can bring up in my mentoring program, how to get people to get further study. The stuff I brought you today is kind of give you a good flavor for the major topics, but I guess I don't have an answer for you right now, exactly a reading list of what to read and what to look at. Because really, you just want to learn the overview of construction cost, the overview of appraisal. That's why I really stress, if you're not an agent, go back to school and become an agent, because of the education you get on appraisal, how appraisal works. It's a great information, and it applies to commercial. There's no difference between a residential license and a commercial license. It's just specializing. No difference. Same license. I just went through the residential class. I use it in the commercial realm. That's all. No different. All the same rules apply. You use a different title company. You use a commercial division. When you go to a title company, you don't deal with a residential division. You deal with a commercial division. They're more educated. They're more skilled. They make very few mistakes because you can see the transactions they're dealing with. They do two-way closings, three-way closings. They have red letter files. We talked about that before a little bit, Mark and I. They have a confidential file. Say you have a closing in one room, you have a property tied up, a commercial site for $1 million, and you're selling it to another client for $2 million. They'll have a separate conference room. In the conference room number 1, they sign the docs. They bring all the deal documents into conference room number 2. The first deal person knows that they're selling for $2 million, but you don't want the $2 million guy to know that you're paying only $1 million for it. And they keep that confidential, but only in the commercial division, a Metropolitan Title or the big title companies will do that. The rest they can't handle it. They don't, what? Huh? But they do it every day. So I'm saying that's a whole different world than commercial. Again, real estate's the same when you go into the licensing test, but after that, you're off the map. You're in a whole different, time zone. So I just want to teach you that's where you want to go. Any other questions?
A question, since you mentioned title companies, what kind of networking do you do with title companies? What kind of opportunities can they bring you? If you ask them?
Honestly, they never brought me any opportunities. I just like them because they're so service-oriented. Like I said, they have 2 or 3 conference rooms. If you have a closing at noon, they bring lunch in for you. What do you want? Because you can imagine the closing costs on a commercial deal. The title insurance is usually $30,000 on a big deal, the premium they get that day. The closing fee is $350 from each room for the double closing. I don't have to say any more. On a house closing, they might get really blown away. They got a $3,000 title insurance premium payment. Whoopie-doo. Most commercial closings are $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a title company gets a check for that day. You think they pay a little more attention to it? That's why they have a different division. And Metropolitan has a building right on Woodward, just south of Long Lake, and they have a whole separate suite just for commercial transactions. Because of how internet is traveled, they PDF everything. The closing docs are really done by the title company. The Stewart Title, my cousin's a general counsel there at Stewart Title. That's her card on all the brochures there, but she does, they call it desktop closings. She has a closing in Louisiana. An investor's buying a building in, say, New York City. It's a 1031 exchange. She'll wire the money from Louisiana to New York, the money from New York to Florida. They do all the transactions right at Stewart Title's office in Southfield, Michigan. No one goes to the closing. It's all a transaction through the title company. They send all the paperwork out by email. They record all the documents for you at the county. They discharge all the mortgages or record the mortgages for the lender. No one even goes. It's electronic closing. That's why I said that's why I really want to push you to, if you don't have a laptop, go buy one. Because once Oakland County becomes Wi-Fi, you'll be able to drive in your car anywhere you are in the county and go on the internet for free.
So these
Correct.
documents that are signed and faxed back to the title
No,
company?
they're emailed. They PDF it and they send it to the title company, signed.
The signature, okay.
Yeah, and that's legal.
Okay.
So you don't have to have an attorney sitting there and, oh, okay. And it takes a lot of negotiation out, because there is no negotiation at the closing. All the documents are done, they're set, they wire them, they fax them. They wire them, they wire the money, the closing's done. You can't say, well, I didn't agree to this. It's already done. It's already hashed out, everything's signed.
No notary?
No.
They might not probably have any problems with signatures. Some things they might have to have a signature on.
That's just what I was asking.
No, they sign it and they PDF it and they send it. The banks are okay with that now, too.
Oh, okay.
Some banks are real sticklers about it, but
Yeah.
what they do with them is they physically have a document and they overnight it to the title company, and then they have to take the physical document, overnight it to the bank. Some banks are real sticky about that. They got to see it in paper.
They're not there yet.
They're not there yet, but I'm saying the title company's already there yet, and they're there, and now they got these diagonal views of property and, satellite photos. They can look at a commercial building anywhere in the country now and get a front view of it
Right.
before they even buy it. That's where the technology's going. Okay, got about, 15 more minutes. Any more questions? Okay, Bob?
Did you talk about insurance?
I talked about a little bit about the public adjuster and don't,
I thought you were talking about how much insurance to get or
basically as much as you can afford. That's my opinion. Always have more insurance than you think you're going to have or think you're going to want. And make sure it's covered, it doesn't expire. Just for the properties or the problems I brought up before, insurance is the most inexpensive thing you can buy, in my opinion, because if a casualty comes along, you can't calculate the return on an insurance policy for liability, property damage, environmental issues. Again, you go to a good insurance company and they bid it out to 17 different carriers. So they're very competitive. There's no reason to pay a lot for insurance. It's a very competitive business. It's like anything else. You got to shop it. But you don't shop it. You let your insurance agent shop it. There's commercial insurance agents. Again, I'll talk about who they are, who I deal with. That's all they do. They don't do residential. They don't know how to spell it. All they do is commercial industrial insurance. That's all they do. That's all they live with, and they know all the carriers and who's writing it and who's not. And they tell you what kind of coverage you need, and here's a coverage, that you don't need. They're there to, they're your consultant, your client. You're their client to help them out. So, one more, go ahead.
When you do all of these different projects and you own this building and that building and all that, do you put these individual projects into an LLC all by themselves?
Yes,
So one project per LLC.
yes.
And how do you title that LLC? By the address of that?
You can make up anything you want,
How
Victor,
do you-
honestly.
how do you do it?
I usually go by the address, make up a name or a number that goes with it. You can put a name or a number in an LLC. People think it's got to be a name. It could be all numbers. Doesn't matter.
Now, do you open up those LLCs yourself, or do you pay the $500 or $600 that an attorney asks you to do?
It depends. Again, if it's a partnership, I'll let the attorney do it. If I'm doing something on my own, an LLC costs $50 to form. In the state of Michigan, you do the L form, you're live.
Do you normally go with a one-member LLC?
Again, on partnerships you do. You don't, but if you're individually, yeah, you do. Now they allow it.
At the end of the year, when you're doing the taxes, then you have to do a K-1?
Yes. Again, leave that to the CPA, like Bob or someone that knows how to do it. They file the return, they file the... Don't ever file your own returns. That's my advice, too. Always have a professional do it. They're worth their weight in gold. What they can save you, how they can counsel you to save you money. The IRS looks as an idiot if you file your own return. If you have a professional filing your return, you're high on their scale. If you file it yourself, they go, oh, this guy's cheating. Let's audit them. So always have a professional audit, always have a professional prepare your return and that represent you in front of the IRS. Don't ever go yourself. That's the kiss of death. Always send Bob or someone that knows what they're doing. They go. You go, they'll squeeze like a turnip. Go ahead.
With a LLC, if you have all these different LLCs for each property, do you have to do a separate tax return for each one? Do you have to have a separate checking account for each one?
Yes, you do.
So you have to...
You have a separate, anytime you have an entity, you have a separate entity, you have a checking account and a tax return. But it's worth, again, it's not, the issue is liability protection and segregating a property. It's not, the cost is inconsequential to the benefits. Okay, Darnell? I have, yes. He's not here today, but Dick's real good at land trust. That's a whole different arena, very high privacy structure. I've used them in the past.
What's the advantage or disadvantage of using that over an LLC?
The advantage, in my opinion, over a land trust is it's very secretive, and no one can really find out who the beneficial interest is. Well, they can with great difficulty. It's a really good structure. That's just Dick knows it to a science. Dick White, he's in Livonia there with Mark, and he's an incredible guy. A lot of national speakers, I'm sure, use land trust. All the banks are familiar with it. It's really a good method. I've only used it a couple times. I just like LLCs, in my opinion, but I guess to the point, the bigger properties I start getting into, I'm going to start using land trust. For liability, basically for obscurity, so no one knows who you are, who owns it, who doesn't own it. You just want to be off the radar screen.
What is the cost for land?
Cost for a land trust? It depends. I guess you got to talk to Dick White. It depends. It could be $1,000. It depends on how complicated. Again, how many members, how many beneficial interests. It's not real expensive for the benefits again.
I just wanted to thank you and acknowledge you for it.
No, I enjoyed it.